Utah Motorsports Park, just west of downtown Salt Lake City, next to Tooele, Utah, sits in between the Stansbury and Oquirrh mountain ranges, and it is a 3-mile ribbon, the outer course that is carved through the Great Salt Desert. There is a look at the first turn called Sunset Bend, and that is the venue that rounds 9 and 10, and 10 happening today for the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah for the TCR and TCA machines that are staged up and in pit lane. Hi, everybody. I am Greg Creamer along with Calvin Fish, and we are looking forward to this one happening, of course, including today's race, Cal. 3 rounds left in the championship, and certainly we've got championship considerations that are being thought of, and after yesterday's races, especially in TCR, it's getting better.
It's really tightening up, Greg, and there's two perspectives when you look at the day for the leaders. They want to consolidate that championship lead. For the pursuers, they have to close the gap before we get to the Glen.
And the difference today, we've got temperature. We've had that. We're at elevation. None of that changes. What changes is how we start this one.
Standing start. There's always trepidation about that, getting off the line cleanly, not getting involved. And, again, you've got to get to that 50% mark to score points over the championship leaders. That is their first target, and then get a bit more aggressive after that.
Absolutely. And as these weekends are always the doubleheader weekends, it is time for us to have a look at what unfolded in round 9 yesterday in this championship. And it was Michael Lewis on the pole, but Ryan Eversley in the real-time Honda slotted in between the two, but Wilkins figured a way to make that work around the outside, Cal.
Yeah, he sweeps around Ryan there going down into turn 1, and suddenly is a Hyundai 1-2.
And in touring car A, great battle between two great pilots, O'Gorman and Powell. They had to deal with the TCR traffic coming through. Once that cleared, we had this type of racing. Watch this, Cal, through 3 corners.
Fantastic racing, tremendous respect between these two competitors, fighting it out not only for a race victory, but also the championship. Really tight there. There's almost a touch. Then a little bit later in the going, Eric Powell trying to set up. Tom O'Gorman runs wide in turn 4, and that eventually thwarted his hopes of victory on the day.
Lost a lot of time. Meanwhile, Ryan Eversley, the points leader, just had no pace to be able to run with those Hyundais, and they were able to stretch the margin a little bit, and that helped them certainly in the points. And the other consideration is Mason Filippi, a full-season competitor, switching to real-time Honda and having himself a great race as well. But when the flag flew at the end, in touring car, it was Tom O'Gorman who came through and took the win. And in TCR, it was a sweep for the Hyundais. And now we go down to the front of the grid. Gino.
On behalf of Pirelli Tires, Pirelli World Challenge, here to deliver the most famous words in motorsports is Brad from FCP Euro.
Drivers, start your engines, please.
All right, thank you very much, Gino. In this field, 2 different classes. When we have multiple class racing here, but it's always the same car. These are actually 2 different complete classes, TCR and TCA, and this field springing to life, and this is going to be a 40-minute race. And once again, we have the Mercedes-Benz safety vehicle from Farmington Mercedes that will lead this field out today on an installation lap to bring them around and set them up for the standing start. Time for our Pirelli storylines. We've kind of alluded to it a little bit, but Hyundai pace late in the championship.
It was a Hyundai fun day yesterday. Lewis grabbed his 3rd win of the year, and with that closes in on Eversley. It was a 17-point lead coming into this weekend. It is now down to 11.
And in the TCA category, Tom O'Gorman, who came in here with a good points lead, looked like Powell was going to be able to race him when he had that off. Things are falling Tomo's way.
It really is. It's now a big win yesterday. That increases his lead. It's now up to 27 points. So it is a lot of work for Eric Powell to get back in this championship chase, and it has to start right now.
And the other big piece of news is there's kind of been a revolving door in that second of the real-time Honda Civic Type R seats. And Mason Filippi, who ran his own program earlier in the year and was a full-season competitor, he made the switch over to the real-time Honda team, Gino. But fact of the matter is, it's not really moving to Honda. It's a return, isn't it?
Absolutely is a return to Honda. You know, Mason has been with the Honda division for a long, long time. He's been involved in motorsports for a long time. I had a photograph that I missed, but he started at the age of 4 on a Honda motocross bike, and ironically his number was 4, and here he is today racing the number 44. So we expect Mason to possibly shake things up here just because he's got speed, he's got momentum, and he's got the drive to do it.
He absolutely does, and he had some good racing going on yesterday. No question about that. So great to have him in the program. You can see him sort of all by himself right there as he's just scrubbing in those Pirelli P0s, and we are getting ready to go racing here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah. Round 10 for TCR and TCA. Don't go anywhere. Well, this is going to be interesting here, Cal. Obviously, that front row, Lewis on his way to the win, got the fast lap. That gives him the pole and that pole point. But Wilkins showed that speed, so we've got a front row sweep for Hyundai. So that pace, that's a huge story.
It really is. And you'd have to think about what are Brian Herter Autosport thinking in terms of championships and team orders. I mean, right now with that second DNF of the year at Portland, Mark Wilkins is pretty far back in the points chase. So you'd have to think that all of the focus will be on Michael Lewis. I think if Wilkins gets the jump, maybe a different story. But if he's behind, I think he just needs to be the ultimate wingman. Keep Eversley back there and gain a bundle of points once again for Michael Lewis.
And a potential spoiler for all these guys is Matt Fosnot in that 74 Murillo Racing Fuji Audi RS3 LMS. That car now carries the new sequential gearbox. They made the big investment in that program. He had his best finish of the year with the fourth yesterday. That car has speed, and he'd love to get up and mix it up with those guys.
He certainly would, and it will all depend on the start, on how feisty he's going to get, I would think, on this opening lap. So been pretty clean this year. I was actually very surprised with everyone incorporating these launches this year with the kind of the handbrake, e-brake, and the launch controls and everything, that they'd have more difficulties. But fingers crossed we get another clean one today, but it's been pretty good all season long.
All right, welcome back, everybody, and we are getting ready to go. The Mercedes safety vehicle into pit lane, and not going to be a start here. They're just going to roll up and pick up their grid positions. Let's take a look at our race analysis. Cal, track just a little over 3 miles, 15 turns using the outer loop. That long front straight, obviously, but the rest of the track has great flow and rhythm. You've got to be quick in the corners here. It's not all about that straight.
It isn't. I mean, certainly straightaway speed is very important to maintain that position, but once you get into the backside of the track, it's all about braking ability and carrying momentum through the corners without abusing the tires. Time management will be key here today.
And, of course, 2 different classes, and without cautions, the TCR cars will come up through those TCA machines, and that's when things can get very interesting, and that certainly makes it a lot of fun. Another guy who had his best finish of the season, Jared Andretti, starts 5th, had a great lap in his Military to Motorsports, Copeland Motorsports VW, and starts 5th, and it'll be great to see what he's able to pull off, and we expect another huge battle in TCA with O'Gorman and Powell, 2 great talents as well. Lights are on. When they go out, we go racing. 40 minutes for round 10 of the Pirelli World Challenge TCR and TCA Championship, and away we go. And both of those...
Eversley balked a little bit there.
Did.
Got an initial launch, then didn't go anywhere. He's getting swamped there. The 2 Hyundais take off at the front. Look at Fastnat.
And the 71 of Hertzen in the Liqui-Moly VW down to the inside. Yeah, Eversley just got buried.
He launched and then just bogged down a little bit or got too much wheel spin, one or the other. Hertzen, another great start. He had a big one yesterday with a rolling start, was up in the top 4.
Oh, and we get a report for TCA that Powell may have stalled.
Oh,
let us start to a touch.
First and into the side of Hertzen, and he just keeps it going.
Well, that's one of the nice things about front-wheel drive. You get tapped, you just point the wheels where you want to go, give it a little bit of throttle.
Nice save. Look at the championship lead. He is buried right now. This is a very, very difficult time for Ryan Eversley to pick his way through this traffic cleanly, not make any mistakes. He's under attack again. There's the 69 car down to the inside of him.
Yeah, it's Girazzi in that Heinlein Racing Development Audi.
No one's given him anything today.
No respect at all. That's the racing. And this is a sad story. The 95 P2P, unbelievable to see this unfold for Eric Powell and that Tech Sport man. Behind the wall, something breaking on, no, excuse me, yes, apparently breaking on that car, we're getting a report, and had to be towed down. So another huge break, for lack of a better pun, I guess, for Tom O'Gorman.
Yeah, 27-point lead coming into this race. Big dust up ahead amongst the TCR cars on the approach to the Attitudes.
Well, you come up into that cloud, you want to be a little circumspect because you don't know if there's a car sitting there.
There is.
Oh, there's the number 72 of Vincent and the 69 of Girazzi. Vincent, teammate to Hertzen in that FCP by Euro HPD VW. In the European Granite and Marble HPD entry, the Audi of Girazzi. That's unfortunate. Meanwhile, it is the 1-2 sort of flying information right now for these 2 Hyundais.
Yeah, no pressure from behind, and certainly they will get the word via the team communication that Eversley is in trouble. Sitting there in the 6th position, just got to pick his way through that gap. Another podium is fine, but he doesn't want to be beating and banging doors with these guys he's around right now. Look at Kupal, he's got a run on Eversley down this front straightaway. JT Kupal in the Compass Racing Audi looking to the outside, looking for a lane.
Oh, and Jared Andretti, a beautiful move down to the inside of Hertzen. And Andretti, the sprint car star, he's trying to hone his road racing skills. That program seems to be coming along nicely.
It is. Look at Eversley trying to ride the cushion here around the outside of Herzen as they now dig into turn 4.
Gets that job done. That parks Herzen a little bit. Kupal might have an opportunity up into Blackrock. He's trying to float the speed, Cal.
Kupal had a really nice qualifying effort yesterday, then dropped back a little bit at the start.
And it was a double move a little bit by the 71 of Herzen. So the stewards might just be looking at that. And still side by side. Meanwhile, oh no, the number 25, this is PJ Gronke down into the pits. He's had just a problematic weekend. Had a moment to talk to him before the race, and he said, boy, I just need a little bit of a break here. Not this kind, obviously, a problem. And with that tech sport team, Gino Carini, we understand you might have an update on what happened with Powell.
Well, right now they think that Eric Powell broke a half shaft, but now I'm standing here next to PJ Gronke's car, and they're looking underneath, and nobody can seem to find out what's going on. They've refired the car, they've recirculated it. Hope this issue has worked itself out.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, just a tough weekend for PJ, and obviously the Tech Sport crew. They are one of the best in the business at touring car type of racing, and every once in a while you have one of those weekends where you just struggle a little bit. And Tom O'Gorman, much the same story in TCA for Tomo as it is in TCR for the Hyundais. He's got lots of breathing room.
He does, and I think for Eric Powell and that team, if they can, they need to try and get a fix done. He needs to get that car back out there, score 50% of the distance, score some points, because if Tomo wins this, that would give him a 52-point lead with 2 rounds to go. That's probably enough to lock down the crown.
That's a really good point. You got to at least get something if you want to have any kind of mathematical shot at what might be an open championship heading into the final 2 rounds at Watkins Glen. But for Tom O'Gorman right now, he's just got to be precise.
Probably can't believe what he's seeing in his rearview mirror.
Yeah.
First of all, no Eric Powell, and then probably via the radio on the team's side, just telling him that Eric is now in the paddock.
And it is the 89 of Sexton that sits second right now. Jeff Sexton in a TransUnion and Mission Hill Advisors Tech Sports Subaru. And there's the dejected PJ Gronke. Came in here with such high hopes after winning the Touring Car B Championship last year. Had a good start to the season, but things have just sort of tailed a little bit. Here comes Eversley working up through the pack.
Yeah, making a move here. So Eversley now up into the 4th position. Lewis has the fastest lap of the race by a sniff over his teammate, but Fastnut's only 3/10 down, so he's not going away at this stage of the game.
Keeping an eye on JT Kupal. He does look like he might be able to do something here with Hertzen as well. So we've got some good battles going. And then Filippi right behind that group as they come whistling through Witchcraft. There's a look at the 71 of Hertzen.
Great to see Andretti in the mix here this weekend. It's been a relatively quiet start for this team, and just building a foundation block, I would think, looking towards next year. But great to see him running at the sharp end.
It absolutely is. There is the 77 of Kupal as he takes that look once again. It's not quite close enough there. And Andretti continuing to just stay with Eversley, and that's a good opportunity for him, because if he can run it, keep Eversley in sight for a little bit and watch what he's doing as reference points, that'll certainly help him. Good story here. The number 89 of Jeff Sexton wins the Optima Batteries Best Standing Start Award, up 4 spots on that opening lap. So well played by Sexton. And right now he sits in a fairly lonely 2nd spot. His teammate Breton Williams in his entry, the number 22, his first Wealth Financial Services Tech Sport Subaru, sits in 3rd. And here are the leaders as they continue to draw away. The official margin between those two only half a second, but about 3.8 back to Matt Fosnot. So right now it is the Hyundais are looking awfully good right now here in Utah. And back with you here at Sirius XM and on our webcast here. And it's going to be interesting because it's be fun to see now Eversley he's showing some speed. He's got fast lap. He's certainly running a little bit quicker than Fasnacht, and when he gets up to him, I think Matt Fasnacht's feeling very racy. He was really elated with his day yesterday, finishing his best finish of the year in this class. Also had a great run in GTS and had another one earlier today, and I think he's really feeling up on the wheel.
He really is, but he got a very fast man behind him. The championship leader, Ryan Eversley, just laid down the fastest lap of the race at a 2-minute flat .2. That compares with Fasnacht's 2-minute flat .4, and the Hyundais are actually a little bit slower than that on that last lap.
Here's a look at Jared Andretti. Anytime you have one of the Andretti family in your series, that's just a good thing to start with, and you know, especially one that's gone back to the original roots of the Andrettis and sprint car racing and the like. That's good stuff.
Almost had the opportunity to co-drive with his dad John at Riverside one year. Unfortunately, the engine blew up in the morning warm-up. We're going to schedule to compete with John Kalasian in a Buick Alba. Probably one of the scariest race cars I've ever driven.
So was that like an intentional blow up in the morning here? Oh, I'm sorry, it was an over-rev.
John was behind the wheel, but maybe he got the message early.
I love it. Here's a look at Jarrett. Here's Hertzen. Good scrap here, essentially, this battle for fifth. Held by Andretti, then Hertzen, then Kupal, and then Filippi. And, obviously, Filippi, these TCR cars, they're all the same concept. Front-wheel drive, full-on paddle shift, synchro boxes for many of them, and good horsepower. But the story is that each car still has its little idiosyncrasies and the like, and this is going to take him a little bit of time to really get familiar with that Honda Type R.
Absolutely. And but it's a learning curve, and hopefully we'll see him behind the wheel for Watkins Glen. I'm sure he'll build on that experience that he's gained this weekend to good effect. And that's the real key with a driver, is having that momentum to take that experience and push it forward. Up front, the two Hyundais look comfortable. I'm sure they're immediately into time management mode. They don't want to be burning these things off and disappearing into the distance. If there should be a reset, even though it seems to be rather unlikely, other than the GTS race this morning, we hadn't seen a caution all day long. Well, yesterday that was, and a pretty clean weekend.
Yeah, well, there's just so much, if you do run off here, you have to go, to Bonneville before you hit anything. So, you got opportunities to gather it back up. Powell had that huge off and just straightened the wheel out, and he came right back on, lost time, but didn't hit anything. So, watching these two Hyundais, we're going to pause. We'll be right back with our CBS Sports coverage. Welcome back, everybody, as this juggernaut, as it's sort of become here, with some of it being just pure speed, but some of it being good fortune for these Hyundais, as Lewis leads teammate Wilkins right now by a healthy margin. Matt Fasnacht, though, starting to feel the pressure as Ryan Eversley, points leaders, trying to come up through the field. However, what we want to do is go back and take a look now at that original start, and you can see Eversley just buried already, and way in the back, Powell parked.
Yeah, you can just see Ryan Eversley. He had an initial launch, then just get swamped there down into turn one as the two Hyundais take off. Side-by-side action here between Fasnacht and Herzen. That was a great little battle, and Ryan Eversley just trying to slot in and not have any damage on his race car.
There was a pretty good touch there, wasn't there, with Fasnacht and Herzen as they headed into turn two. But they were both able to survive it, and that battle has continued. Meanwhile, Eversley continues to close in. He's taken that margin down to 1.1 of a second right now. Last couple of laps, he's been 3 to 4 tenths quicker than Fasnacht, so he is coming up.
He really is, but as we saw in the early rounds of the championship, it was all about Hyundai and Honda. Right now, you see a few more players getting into the game as Ryan really pushing hard there. Dropped the wheel slightly on the approach to turn 6, trying to widen that entry point. Put the pressure on Matt Fasnacht. Eversley still with the fastest lap of this race at a 2-minute flat, basically 10th quicker than Michael Lewis.
As we're watching Ryan Eversley, of course, he had that problem where he just sat there on the start. Jeannie, what's the team saying?
Well, absolutely. I'm here with Nathan Minot, the crew chief of the number 43 at Honda Real Time. And that was not a typical start of Ryan's. Can you tell me what happened over there?
I think what happened is the new power level for our cars. Our cars really struggle on the standing start. But we got a good car. We're in a different zip code from the Hyundais, but we're in survival mode and get as many points for the championship and go to Watkins Glen.
So, and you're definitely, speaking of the championship, you're not out of the championship yet. So the plan going forward is, I'm assuming, what, just to go head down as hard as you can?
Yeah, Ryan's got his head down, trying to get as many points out of this weekend and go to Watkins Glen.
And that's where they'll do it next, is at Watkins Glen.
Absolutely, Gino, and taking it right down to the end of the season. But I mean, when you have an issue like that, where you just have something unfold at the start, that's all you can do. Is you can either let the red mist consume you and you have a bad day, or focus it.
Well, it's damage control at this point, and he's just got to get through this race cleanly. I mean, that was the problem in the opening laps. You're around other guys you're typically not racing with, so you got to understand their driving habits, not take any risk. But in the meantime, the 2 leaders are taking off on you. So I think his target right now is a podium run, of course, and minimize the damage. It would be a 4-point swing. He's got an 11-point lead, so he's still going to that final race weekend with enough points in hand. But you know, it's tightening up, and then the pressure really starts to tell on everyone.
And it looks like Fosnot is responding a little bit to the speed of Eversley. He's been able to turn laps that are now just a couple of tenths off the pace. And, of course, there's the old story. You can catch him, but it's a whole different deal when you get there to try and pass him. And Fosnot, I think, is really enjoying the pace. It's made a difference, certainly. Big investment financially, but made a difference to put that sequential box into that Audi.
For sure, and he's been a busy boy, running 4 races this weekend, 2 in GTS and obviously 2 TCR events here this weekend.
And dropping back to what is a really good little battle in the TCA category, and Mosey Uretsky in the number 55 Murillo Racing Mazda Global MX-5 Cup car has gone around Breton Williams and has picked up the 3rd spot in this race. And he's been having a really strong second half of the season, Mosey, as they really put a handle on that little Mazda, and he's really gotten comfortable behind the wheel.
He really has. You can just see it. The confidence is growing. The Mazda seems to be well suited to this racetrack, and it's actually got decent straightaway speed here as well. So that's a great combination. And as you said, he's having fun.
And we take a look, you can see the 25 of Gronke is back out. Apparently it was an oil pressure sensor, and they think it's going to be okay. But let's go back and take a look at the move that Mosey put on the number 22 of Breton Williams, and just got down to the inside.
Yeah, and we said it's got good straightaway speed this year, and he put it to good effect there, and Williams didn't fight him too hard, it looked like.
And now, of course, he's gone through, but Breton Williams, who has had himself a pretty good weekend as well, good top 5, his 3rd of the season in yesterday's race, and he's certainly not going to just let Mosey get away if there's anything he can do with it, and will continue to hound him as they work through that turns 5 and 6 complex and now into Witchcraft.
Big difference between a podium and a 4th place finish.
Yeah, that is very true.
It's not like a win to 2nd, but 3rd and 4th to 4th is equally different in terms of spraying some champagne or just saying, hey, we had a top 5. Bit of debris there through the attitudes, you can see.
Yeah, being on the box is a lot better than standing below looking up at it. There's no question about that. And even if it's 3rd, you've podiumed against some pretty good competition. And so Mosey giving it a run. Good to see that Gronke they were able to get him back out. And Breton is staying close, heading into the clubhouse turn here, looking for any opportunity. The problem is that, as you pointed out, the speed of that Mazda, if he can't get a run on him getting onto that front straight, that's where Mosey might be able to stretch things just a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's the key. You've just got to really factor in those last couple of corners. Not overdrive the car. Patience is key there right now. Sometimes the faster you go, the slower you are coming off there. So
it's true. And I'm guessing a little bit frustrating for Gronke right now is he's right behind his teammate who's running in 2nd, Jeff Sexton, and he's staying right with him. So he clearly had some good speed today and just had whatever that was, a little dropout, a little sensor issue in the 1st lap. But he's showing some speed. Meanwhile, speaking of speed, Lewis and Wilkins continue to just stretch that margin out a little bit and doing everything they can. And as you said, just making sure they've got something left if they need to, should there be a full course caution later. So I'm sure they've got it well under control. Up front, it's Lewis, Wilkins, and Fosnot in TCR. It's O'Gorman, Sexton, and Uritsky in TCA. And it looks like Eversley is pretty much caught now. Fosnot behind these 2 Hyundais. watch him come into frame here. There he is. There's Fasnacht, and here comes Eversley.
He's getting really close now, but he still has to make a nice clean pass. He's 3 minutes away from, oh, here he goes. Fasnacht in a little bit deep, and that just made it easy on Ryan Eversley. Matt tries to come back at him. He may, in fact, hold that position. They now hit the brake zone for turn 6, but no. Ryan just swings across.
Did you see, Fasnacht, I think, thought that there might be a little bit of contact because those brake lights flashed well before the brake zone. And I wonder if he thought, ooh, he didn't see me, he's coming over. And suddenly, Eversley gets a little gift.
Well, you'd hate to think that you'd drive anyone any differently. You're out there battling for a race position, but when you know it's the championship leader that you're there with, you see Fasnacht clipping those bollards on the entry to the attitudes. You're going to give him a little bit of an easier day, I think.
Bit of respect, absolutely.
Yeah, but they'll come back. I mean, payback in racing is never far away.
And as you can see, this battle now is coming up on the back of some of the TCA traffic. The question is, of course, is Eversley in that charge after that start, how much has he used up those Pirelli P0s?
Good question. He's got the fastest lap of the race, but you'd have to think that the two Hyundais are just managing things up front. That 6 to 7 second gap over Eversley as he now gets that third position. And for Mark Wilkins, it's got to be quite frustrating because if he does have any pace over his teammate, I would have to think that at a certain stage, Brian Herder Autosport has to make that call in terms of, no, hold station. We need Michael Lewis, who's the closest pursuer to Eversley in this championship chase, to take the big points.
Yeah, it's what Wilkins right now is 16 points adrift of Lewis, so that's a big margin up to Eversley for sure.
Yeah, that second DNF and scoring 0 points at Portland really hurt Mark coming off the victory the day before. But those are the breaks. It's a new car program as we see a little bit of smoke there from Williams.
That's Breton Williams' car, absolutely.
He's got a big problem. It's almost like the left front is completely locked.
He's pulled straight off over at the Blackrock hairpin.
Motor coming from the left front.
I thought it was left front. I wonder if you know, maybe if he's got a brake fire.
Engine smoke or
something, and he certainly sensed it immediately and got out of it. Yeah, that's a tough scenario here. So we expect him to try and make it back into pit lane. I don't know whether something just broke or whether he's just overcooked the brakes, but we're going to pause here on the web and Sirius XM. We'll be back with our CBS Sports Network call. Michael Lewis continues to control the action with teammate Mark Wilkins in the I-30Ns from Hyundai Motorsports, and Brian Herder Autosport with Kerr Bagajanian having a great day right now for Lewis as he just puts that car another lap in the books. And those I-30Ns are looking awfully strong. Unfortunately for the number 22, Breton Williams, who was having a great run up into podium contention, something has let go in that car, and he got a long way around this lap with huge plumes of smoke, but you could see stuff dropping out of the bottom of that car.
Yeah, it was a lot of smoke as he approached the Blackrock hairpin coming out of the left front. Wasn't sure it was a brake issue or tire issue initially, but looking at it during the break, Greg, there's a lot of oil dropping out from underneath.
And hopefully he got most of that was done offline. And so the competitors, of course, all of the course marshals will be out there if there was some fluid down on the track, letting them know with the flags. Let's go back and take a look at what happened here to the number 22 of Breton Williams. And it was heading into this turn on Blackrock, and there's the plume.
Yeah, suddenly you see all that smoke emanating from the left front corner of the car. Initially I thought, wow, an upright failed and locked up the left front wheel. Then he continued to roll.
But eventually you could start to see the stuff just sort of dropping out of the center of the underside of the front of that car. And I'm sure very dejected, pulls over and stops. As I said yesterday, got his third top 5 of the season and was potentially, he was battling for a podium position here, and that has now gone away. And once they got into some of this TCA traffic, Wilkins has been able to Lewis has opened that margin up a little bit on Wilkins' car.
He has. There's a definite batch of traffic there that Mark had a hard run through, but this will be kind of telltale. If he can get back on his teammate's tail, that will indicate that he does have pace here today, but he'll be managing the gap to his teammate and also the gap behind. He doesn't want to let Eversley get too close, so Lewis can't back Mark up too much and let Eversley try and pounce here at the finish. They've got to keep that margin up.
Yeah, that's a really strong point as we look here at Ryan Eversley in that real-time HPD Honda Civic Type R. And as you can see, those two I-30Ns up front are making their way up and are going to go around the TCA leader of Tom O'Gorman. There they are, Tomo in that blue liveried Honda Civic.
Importantly, Eric Powell was not able to get a fix done. We haven't seen him back in action, and he's now got not enough time on the clock to do the 50%. It's actually done in laps, but this has been green, so even if he got back out there and there was a yellow, that would not help his score. So he'll score 0 points here today. With the 27-point lead coming in, he'll score 25 here if he can manage to get this victory. And that pretty much stymies Powell going into Watkins Glen weekend in terms of the championship.
Now, it's a big story for Tom O'Gorman, 2 years ago winning the TCB championship. And JT Kupal in a good battle right here with Mason Filippi, and Kupal running just a little wide coming through turn one, Sunset Bend, dropping those tires, just trying everything he can to find a way through on Mason. Oh, look at that move. Very aggressive move by Mason, trying to get around Mosey Uretsky and some of the TCA traffic, and does it. And as he makes that move, he slices through on Andretti as well.
Did. That was a nice move there. Wow. Andretti by surprise a little bit, you would feel, but certainly great to see this boy having the opportunity with a team like Real Time. Not only just driving a car that's maybe a little bit more competitive than the car he's been driving this season, but also learning from the experience of guys like Nathan Bonneau, P.D. Cunningham, and Ryan Eversley.
And now Kupal really starting to put the pressure on Andretti as well. And that Compass Racing machine down through the attitudes. Thought about it there. You can see that little wiggle and realize maybe not.
I think Kupal's certainly got pace here. He just needs to execute here. I think he's got more speed than Andretti at this stage of the game.
And they come by cleanly by Jeff Sexton, second in the TCA category in that black and white number 89 Tech Sport Subaru.
Great section of the racetrack here. We talk about the rhythm, not asking too much from the car and the tire, particularly at this stage of the game. There'll be a lot of heat generated in those Pirelli P0s right now.
That's one of the tricky things about these TCR machines is they make great power. I mean, they lap around here with times that are just at the same pace as the GTS machines, and they don't have driver aids, so you've got to be very, very gentle on those front tires. Let's check in with Gino, get an update on some of the struggles today with Tech Sport.
Yeah, Tech Sport's having a heck of a day. Turns out, here we are now. PJ Gronke's back in the pits with an issue, and then their other driver came back with a differential, he said. Then he said it was a tire that blew, and it turned out it was the motor that let go. So Tech Sport not happy in Utah this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle for them, and certainly not in terms of pace. There's no question of that. They are always very, very fast, but they've just hit some niggling reliability issues. And I wonder if it's kind of tied to this heat, because they dealt with that in Portland as well.
They really did. It's been two extremely hot race weekends for the cars, and there can be a residual effect on things, of course. Not quite as toasty today as we saw on Friday and Saturday in particular under race conditions.
So Lewis and Wilkins continue to hang on here. The margin back to Ryan Eversley. He's trimmed it a little bit. He's down in under 5 seconds. But that's still an awfully long way to go. O'Gorman leading comfortably over Sexton and Uritsky in TCA. And we just want to remind you that you can follow all the news of the Pirelli World Challenge by downloading the new Fan app. Go to the Apple App Store or Google Play App Store and search for the PWC Fan app and start getting in deep. You can also follow along on many other social media platforms. On Facebook, search for PWC Championship. Twitter, just have a look for @WC Racing, and on Instagram, you've got two opportunities, hashtag Pirelli WC or hashtag Pirelli World Challenge. And for all things Pirelli World Challenge, take a look online. Go to the series website, world-challenge.com. for Hyundai fans, that's a beautiful sight. Those two beautiful I-30Ns, Lewis and Wilkins, running 1-2 and all by themselves at the head of this combined field of TCR and TCA cars. And at this part of the season, they've been quick all year, but they've really hit, it seems like, a stride right now.
Well, there's been a couple of BOP changes over the course of the season. Remember, at the start of the year, it looked like they had the edge over Ryan Eversley and the Honda, and then there was that global BOP change. I think that swung towards Eversley. He went on a bit of a tear. And then before this race weekend, there was a bit of an adjustment within the Pirelli World Challenge Championship, and it seems like that's changed the direction a little bit again in terms of who has the edge, and they're running so close together. And when you got drivers of this quality, teams of this quality running, you just give them a little edge, and they're going to try and take advantage of it.
Yeah, that brings up a very good point. You know, this is touring car TCR, but you're talking Brian Hurd Autosport, real-time racing, and ooh, that was a big move. Lewis definitely got held up a little bit coming through the attitudes, and suddenly that margin he had over Wilkins has evaporated. It
really has, and that was a bigger reduction in gap, or quicker than I thought it should be. I mean, certainly Michael did not get a good run through the attitudes, but Mark was coming on a tear. You'd have to think if it was a different competitor, he'd have been trying to make a move.
Well, it looked like Lewis really had to tighten up the exit of that bad attitude to not get into the back of Gronke. And that, of course, really will scrub speed. Wilkins had a much freer run, didn't he?
He did. And he's just going to sit there, and they're going to manage that gap back to Eversley, who sits in the third spot. Not take anything out of the tires unduly. 11.5 minutes to go. The gap right now is just under 6 seconds.
Eversley still maintains that fast race lap.
I have to think for Lewis, was he at 7 out of 9 coming into this weekend in terms of fast laps?
Yep, yesterday got his 7th fast lap. And so that'll be some consolation, but small salve to the wounds for Ryan Eversley if that sticks. It's a good look at Michael Hertzen, who has had been on form certainly this weekend, and ended up with a 5th yesterday, his 4th top 5 of the season. And when they really sort of hit their stride a little bit, both he and his teammate Nate Vincent are Connecticut natives. They got to Lime Rock Park, where they have a huge amount of experience, and I think they needed that. It really got their confidence level going, where they could really push these cars and figure some things out. And Michael Hertzen, since then, in that Liqui-Moly FCP Euro by HRD VW Golf, has really found some good form, and fast enough to be running in front of this nice little battle between Jared Andretti and JT Kupal.
Yeah, this is cool. Cool to see these young drivers going hard at it. Good clean race so far. I think JT's demonstrating maybe a little bit more speed in his car, but having the speed and executing is going to be the factor in terms of if he can get that position from Andretti by the end of this race, but time is running out.
Fosnot's margin to Eversley still not too bad. I mean, considering that this has been an evolutionary season for Matt Fosnot in this championship. He's sticking within 2 seconds of Ryan Eversley. That's a pretty good run.
It really is, and I think that's an indicator of what the sequential box can do in terms of reducing some of the gap to the Hyundais and the Hondas, who run the box, of course, as standard. A lot of these DSG competitors may be looking at next year if they're going to come back. Do I want to make that move? There's talk about changing the format with the class in general. So lots to see how it plays out during the off-season.
Yeah, lots to chew on, that's for sure. And I mean, there's no question, obviously, that lead trio of drivers, Lewis, Wilkins, Eversley, are just superb. The rest of the field, the drivers are certainly extremely good as well, but they were brought in for a reason in this TCR by these manufacturers to show what these cars can do. But I think then you throw in that DSG gearbox issue, and you take a look. The top 4 cars right now have the sequential, and that's 18 seconds back to the next car. And I think that a lot of that is just performance related.
Yeah, just every time you're on the gas and making a gear shift, it's a little bit quicker. And that adds up over a long lap like we have here at the Utah Motorsports campus.
Well, part of it, too, from my understanding, is the DSG box is heavy, and it tends to sit over the left front corner of the car, so that affects, obviously, the weight distribution and the balance.
Tire degradation, everything.
The whole thing. But the upside on it is very, very reliable, requires very few rebuilds. It's much more economical to run. And if you make the step, as the Murillo Racing team with Matt Fosnot did, it's a significant investment. in part because you've got to do a lot more frequent rebuilds on these sequentials.
Absolutely. Speaking of focus, it's going to be the key factor here for Tom O'Gorman. I'm not sure what sort of game he is playing in terms of trying to hit a target lap time or manage the tires. But even so, when you got a big gap like this, your mind can start to wander, Greg, in terms of, okay, he'll know the numbers, he'll know the points, he'll know that if Powell is out for the day, what that could potentially give him here.
Well, and the one thing that he's told us a few times that where he struggles is, he said, you know, it's the heavier car in the field, and he said, yeah, we've got good speed for a while. He said, but where we tend to have problems is brakes. Eventually, you have to slow that weight down, and especially on a warm day, it really gets to his brakes. And one of the nice things, without having any pressure from behind, he can just kind of ease into those braking zones a little bit. And I'm sure he's enjoying there's nothing more unnerving for a driver at a fast track than a squishy brake pedal.
That's for sure. He did say after yesterday's race, where he expected in the heat to have some really big tire degradation issues, he said actually the car's balance was remarkably good. So they're learning. He gave credit to his crew in terms of the setup on the race car. And it's a shame that Eric had that little off, because I think that battle was going to go down to the wire yesterday.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it was really setting up. And Tomo made a real good point. He said, I got to give some serious props. He said, it's a small team, obviously. And he said they really did a great job stepping up and making the changes, Andy and Renee on that team, to manage that weight and tire deg. And he said they really stepped up. Yeah, he gets an engineer that helps him a little bit from real time, and that car is traveled by real time, but it's still Tomo Racing and that small family operation, and they did a great job. So looking for this. We've got some good battles, though, that are still unfolding here. This one continues to be interesting for the 7th spot, and we want to make sure we cover it. So we're going to pause for just a moment here. We will be right back and take you to the finish of this 10th round of the TCR TCA championships here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah. Welcome back, everybody. And as we come back, a full course yellow has been called here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah, and it just came over the radio. We have not seen the reason for it at this time, but the caution has been called here.
This is exactly why you have to manage those tires, exactly. Even though you've got a lead. Just don't disappear off into the distance, because you're going to have a reset here. You're going to have Eversley, the championship leader, right behind these two Hyundais.
That is the number 79. That is Spencer Patterson in the Regent Square Reynolds Tech Sport Subaru BRZ TS. And he has pulled off. And he's just close enough to the side of the track. And the problem is there's a lot of runoff here. But there also means that you can be parked and it can still have cars get to you. And you just don't want to run that risk, obviously. So a full course caution. Looks like it might be something where they could just hook up what they call a flat toe and just pull them into a safe area. As we are under 5 minutes, sure want to see this one cleared up, because with this stack up now because of this caution, it'd be kind of fun to see this one play out, wouldn't it?
It really would, and it's going to be tight. They got to get those service crews over there and get that car pulled out of the way pretty quickly. You see the truck right there now, so that's good news. You've got two options here. Looking at the clock, you either need to slow the pace car way down or speed it up.
Exactly.
You're going to go around for a lap and a half. You've got to make sure there's some time left on the clock.
As I said, if it was just something that broke and the car is still able to just roll passively, they can hook up and just move them. But there you see that lead group of 4 has now packed up. Eversley right in position here to do something if he's got tire left. He's had to drive hard to come back up through the pack after that start.
He has, and to be honest with you, the car really hasn't demonstrated the pace to take anything to the Hyundais, but you know that Ryan's a fierce competitor. He's going to go for it. He'd love to sneak around Wilkins at least and split the two Hyundais and minimize the damage in terms of only being a 2-point swing from the race result today. Obviously, Lewis will grab that bonus point for the pole position as well.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is that also is going to bring Felipe Andretti, Kupal, who are having that great battle, right up to Hertzen as well. So we could have a couple of great scraps unfolding in TCR if we get back to green.
The timing of this pace car, I think, is going to be critical, Greg, because right now I don't think they've got enough time to go around twice. So they need to get that cleaned up before they get onto the front straightaway, or this could finish under yellow.
All right,
so time is of the essence right now.
We're hearing from race control we might be able to get this one going green this time.
Well, it's going to happen this time or not at all. I think that's my point. There's not going to be enough time to do another safety car pace lap.
Boy, if it happens, it'll be the second straight race of the day where it's been lights out on the safety car. We are going green. And it may be the second straight race of the day where it's a green-white to the checker flag, a one-lap shootout here. Well, this is going to be interesting. And depends on if there's cars between O'Gorman, Sexton, and Uretsky. That little battle could get interesting, too.
Yeah.
But O'Gorman has had the room to be able to really preserve tires and brakes, so he might have enough to fight with here. Yep, lights are out. We are going green.
Great news. This will be fun.
And I wonder if we might be. Do you think we can get 2 laps?
I think we will.
Oh, how fun will that be?
Yep.
All right. 2 minutes and 26 on the clock now. If they get to start finish with anything over 2 minutes, 2 minutes 3 on the clock, we could get 2 laps in here. All right.
Tight.
Mercedes is in the pits, leading him around. Lewis, his teammate Wilkins on his 6, and they rolled early. And boy, Eversley just didn't get a run out of that last turn again. And here we go.
Fosnart's got a run on Eversley here. He's going to be thinking of a move when they get to the brake zone for turn 1. Eversley's going to have to defend this.
And guess what? I didn't see a white flag, so I think we've got 2 here.
I think we do. There's probably about 8 seconds in hand here for them to do another lap.
Look at Fosnart so close to the back of Ryan Eversley down through Sunset.
He'd love to sneak a podium here today.
Wouldn't he?
And that would certainly take the sting out of Ryan Eversley's championship lead if he lost another couple of points here. Got to defend down into Blackrock, you'd have to think.
And he does that, kind of eases over just a little bit. Fosnart right there. Is he going to do anything drastic into the brake zone? No.
Ryan must have been very confident about his braking ability into that corner because he did not defend whatsoever.
Well, and obviously you're a driver of Ryan's caliber. You quickly get a read on things, and you can say, yeah, I don't need to defend it. He doesn't want to overslow at any point here with the speed that Fosnart clearly has.
But if you get someone who gets a little bit antsy and stuffs it down the inside as the championship leader, you're going to give him a bit of room. Can't afford to be banging fenders here with just a minute or so on the board.
And looking at that battle behind, Kupal is attacking on Andretti as well. So that's not by no means settled. They've been at it the entire race.
Hertzen continues to run in the top 5. Another great day for Michael.
Yeah, he's been able to gap Mason Filippi. He's got a little room back to Andretti there. Mason in that Honda, then the all-white VW of Andretti, and then that blue and orange Compass Racing Audi. All right, we will be getting a white flag this time by.
Maybe about 5 or 6 seconds on the clock, I would think, as they hit the stripe.
There it flies as they go by. 5 exactly, well said. And let's see, this is where Fosnart is. He's been good out of that last turn. Is he close enough to do anything? He looks to the inside.
He's got a lot of speed in the draft there. He had about 138 mile-an-hour trap speed compared to 135, 136 of the Hyundais and 137 on Eversley.
And he's rolling good speed through that first corner as well. Hertzen, Filippi, they were duking it out, as was Andretti and Kupal as they came by. You know, Gorman, he had a lot of cars between himself and Sexton at one point, so I think that margin, even under caution, looks like it stayed fairly sizable at this stage.
Well, we saw Matt Fosnart be very respectful of Eversley when Eversley made the move on him earlier in this race, coming off turn 5 head to turn 6. I almost wonder whether Eversley recognized that fact that Matt is not going to push it from maybe a conversation they had prior to the start.
Well, that's true. They may have gone and talked, and Eversley could have said, look, I know you want to get out there and race, but I'm in this championship. Will you give me a little extra room out there? And I know Matt, he's a gentleman, and I think he would say yes. But if you give me something, I'm going. There's no question of that. All right, through the attitudes. That's the second one. And I love the name, Bad Attitude. Off camber, falling down the side of the hill, up onto that curb. The 2 Hyundais out front. Wilkins, as you saw.
Fosnart's off. Keeps it together. He's going to manage to maybe scramble back on and keep that 4th position. Up front is Michael Lewis still. He hasn't been led all weekend long, Greg.
Absolutely, and these cars are pretty aero effect, sensitive, and he got close enough there to Eversley. Lost a little air on the nose. But the guy who's had his nose in nothing but clean air for this entire race, Michael Lewis onto the front straight. And again, a Hyundai 1-2 at Utah Motorsports campus with Eversley slashing through into third. And, of course, losing a little bit more of that championship lead. Meanwhile, Tom O'Gorman, who after the problems of Eric Powell on the start, the guy who's been racing in this championship, had things pretty much his own way. And it looks like Tomo's doing a little celebrating. Threw it in sideways, back end swinging around as he comes onto the front straight. Yeah, he knows this was a big, big weekend in terms of him getting another championship. He is having fun.
It was cool.
That is just fantastic. So,
I'm saying he's officially claimed the title, but he's pretty close to it, even with 2 races left.
Yep, I think he realizes this may have been the weekend, and he is exuberant in his celebration. So, absolutely fabulous run, a sweep for the Hyundais, and for O'Gorman, yet another win. We will be right back to hear from our winners. Stay with us. All right, with you here on our Sirius XM and web stream. So happy you could join us as we are wrapping up this weekend of competition for TCR TCA here. And boy, I'll tell you, these 2 Hyundais have just had it their way here this weekend and have done themselves absolutely no harm in terms of closing this championship up. And of course, same story for Tom O'Gorman. And still have 2 rounds of this championship yet to go, however, and it's going to be at Watkins Glen, so that one's going to be a fun one to enjoy. When we get out there as well, boy, I'll tell you, these drivers and teams have had to endure some temperatures here. It's every day it's reached at least the mid-90s. Most days it's been knocking on the door of 100. And it's, again, you get races like this into these conditions, it takes a toll, but when you can run like these guys did, it is incredibly satisfying as well.
It really is. It was a stellar result, and it's all about execution. Unfortunately, both of these cars have had a few mechanical gremlins. Each car had an issue in separate races at VIR. Mark Wilkins had that issue at Portland. Otherwise, it could have been a totally different complexion on this Drivers' Championship. But Eversley keeps grabbing those podium finishes, even if he's not winning.
And here's a look at the number 10, the G3 Racing Mazda of Jenny Gannett, her first season of racing, really, and came into it here. And she is our VP Racing Field's Hard Charger Award, up 5 spots during the course of this race. Her best finish of the year by 2 spots, a 4th place, her first ever top 5. She was elated with 6th at Portland when I ran into her during that weekend. And she's going to be over the moon with that performance for sure. Into the victory circle staging area comes your winners, led by Michael Lewis. What a day he has had, what a weekend he has had. And this is going to be his 4th win on the season. And boy, I'll tell you what, huge move in terms of the points for him this weekend. His teammate, of course, Mark Wilkins, right behind him. And third and into the podium area will be Ryan Eversley. And look at that. Lewis gets out of the car, that tall, lanky man, and absolutely elated with good reason.
Yeah, it's a big weekend for that young man, and well supported by Mark. I think the emphasis is definitely on Michael's championship charge right now. It's down to 7 points unofficially, so if they do the same thing at Watkins Glen, that could turn the tide on Ryan Eversley and sneak this title.
Well, I think one thing that you have from both of these young guys here in this team, and certainly Michael Lewis, the younger of the two, but Mark Wilkins is a team player. He gets that big picture concept, and that's why he gets rides like this.
He really does, and they had a lot of drivers to choose from before they made their choice here. They picked 2 good ones, and they're certainly delivering there as John Ward, the engineer, talks to Michael Lewis. at dinner with John last night. He's very excited about this program, said the cars are just really, really strong. The handling package is superb.
All right, I see Gino Anstey with a microphone down there, bud.
Good job, buddy. Michael Lewis, what win is this for you now? How many this year?
So I think this is win number 4 for myself. We got 3 wins with Mark, so Hyundai's definitely pretty solid. You know, thanks so much to Brian Hurd Autosport, you know, and all our partners, Castrol, Quaker State and Curb Records, and it was a really strong fight out there. The degradation of the tires was quite a lot, honestly. I was scared on the restart there. I had a lot of graining and a lot of debris in my tires, so it was a bit of an issue, but luckily we got a good gap on Eversley. And
7 points away from the lead now. Ryan's still holding that lead, but you're 7 points away from the championship lead.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I mean, we'll see how that plays out. I mean, Ryan's been really strong this whole year, and let's see. You know, we got one more weekend to go. But the biggest thing is for the manufacturers' points and team points. So the drivers thing, that's cool, but let's just keep clicking away for Hyundai. And thank you to all the Hyundai service members and all of our fans that came out here from Hyundai to support us.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, buddy. See you at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, what a weekend, certainly, as we take a look here at the results in the TCR category. The podium, Lewis Wilkins for Hyundai, Ryan Eversley for the Honda, Matt Fosnot, second straight top 5 for him here, and Michael Hertzen starting to really find speed and absolutely great run. And when you think about it, we take a look at the points here. You heard Gino talk about that battle, but those manufacturer points, obviously these guys understand as well. That's a crucial component here.
It really is. Without it, they wouldn't be racing, so they understand what the big picture is. But great drives all the way through. You look at those top 10s and the performances today. I think every driver will be very, very content.
Absolutely.
Maybe other than Eversley, maybe somewhat frustrated.
Yeah, maybe even a little feisty. He should be fun to watch drive when we get to Watkins Glen. Now, let's check in with our winner in the Touring Car A category. What a weekend for Tom O'Gorman.
Well, you talk about content drivers. I think I've got the most content driver in the field here right now. Tom, amazing drive. Great drive.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sorry it wasn't more entertaining like yesterday's race, but I'll take it. It's absolutely critical to be reliable in racing, and my Honda Civic Si was the most reliable car out here this weekend. We got both wins, but it's also so fast and so much fun to drive, so I can't thank Honda enough. We got some representatives here from Honda Performance Development this weekend, so it's so exciting to bring the win home while they're here. As always, huge thanks to SCCA Track Night in America and Grid Life for the support, for 1552 for the support, and the technical input from Eibach and Carbotech Brakes. The car has been absolutely on rails this weekend. We need one more point to clinch the championship, so we got to go to Watkins Glen, put it on pole, and then we can park it if we want.
And I mean, I know you don't have that mentality that you're going to park it, but let's talk about that little wiggle at the end in the last corner. What happened there?
I thought, well, the camera's got to be on me, so I'll just hang it out a little bit, make it entertaining. But yeah, it's it's hot and the tires degrade, so the car I wasn't just cruising, I wanted to keep the pace up, so we were pushing it hard, and it was a lot of fun.
Outstanding, Tom. Great job. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Well played, Tom O'Gorman. And could have been a whole different day if Eric Powell wouldn't have had that problem. He is so quick in that car, but those things happen. So we take a look here at the results for Touring Car A. And again, that podium, good run for Jeff Sexton. He's had speed, and Mosey Uretsky just continues to improve, gets his first podium of the season. Great job. And for Jenny Gannett, fourth. Absolutely fantastic result. Of course, this is a track she's got lots of laps on. Yeah, congratulations, Jenny. Great run here today in front of the home crowd, so she'll be pumped up. And I'm looking at Tom O'Gorman, and he's saying he needs a point. I'm not sure he does, Greg. It could be tied up if Powell won both races and Tomo scored 0. Go to the comeback. I think Tomo may have the edge there, so we won't give it to him yet, but he pretty much sealed the deal here this weekend. Yep, and obviously, as you take a look at those points, also thinking about the manufacturer points as well, Honda has closed that up just a little bit more on Subaru, and going into that final round of the championship, there's all kinds of things to play for in terms of manufacturer points, but the interesting thing here is going to be, did Tom O'Gorman actually clinch it? And no, I'll let him believe that he's got to stick it on pole because he's entertaining to watch drive fast, so we'll let him play that one out. So that's going to wrap things up here at Utah Motorsports Campus. But, Cal, Watkins Glen, we've seen touring cars race there before, but the TCR cars at that track with the grip levels that thing generates, they should be insane. Yeah, the downforce those cars generate, they're very fast here, very much equal to the GT4 machinery competing here on the same weekend. So look forward to seeing them at the Glen. Absolutely. That's on Labor Day weekend. Make sure and come and watch if you can. If not, check it out here when our coverage comes from Watkins Glen. For now, that wraps things up here at Utah. For Calvin, Gino, and the entire CBS Sports Network crew, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for joining us. In association with WC Vision, this has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, your 24-hour home of CBS Sports.